Good morning, everybody. We're in Maseches Gittin in the Bavli Daf Yud Daf Nun Ches Amud Aleph, 10 lines in the top. Bnei ציון Hayikorim, the precious sons of ציון, the Yidin Hamusaloim b'puz, that were covered with puz, which is like a reddish gold, a very precious material. My Musaloim b'puz. If you're going to say they had jewelry that was like made out of puz, and that was our claim to fame. The Amrit Vedeb Shila. Tarti Miskali Stira Pisa, they said from the yeshiva of Rab Shilo that there's two measures of that were a cell of Pisa that were in the world. One was in Rome, the rest in the rest of the world. So obviously Rome had the most, and also there wasn't even that much. But I mean, I guess the main good is most of it was in Rome. Half of it was in Rome compared to the whole world. They were so beautiful that they would make the puz look bad because of their beauty. Meikoro.
1 second starting.
This is how the Gemara. Does the Gemara describe the greatness of their beauty? Because it says like this: Meikoro. Chashive derevoy habanakti bilyoina the gushpanka. They would take images on their coins, on their seals. They would have beautiful images on their seals. And they would have relations while looking at these images because it would help them to have beautiful kids. I guess what you think of when you have relations, that's how the kid comes out. So they would always look at beautiful images. When they had Jewish captives, they would do something terrible. They would bring the Yidin, they would tie them up to the leg of their beds and have relations. They would look at the Jews, the beautiful, handsome Jewish boys and girls, and that's how they would have like thoughts, with which to have beautiful kids.
Yeah, that's pedophilia, isn't it? That's what you'd call it today.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's terrible.
Well, it's terrible. Yes,
terrible stuff. It could be that it wasn't with kids. It could be it was with older, with the mature boys and girls. In other words, doesn't necessarily have to be with little kids.
Still terrible.
Yeah. So the Gemara says like this. They were learning. They were learning in the yeshiva this idea, this terrible punishment that the Yidden had after the Churban, that they had to go through this. Where is this written in the Torah? It says in Parshas Kisavai, also things that are not written. So this is something that's not written. It's not sneers. It's not nice to write. So Torah we didn't want to write it. That's what it says in the pasuk.
Yes.
He said, how far am I from this place? I'm going to in God pusto palgo. It remains a column and a half. In God means a little bit. There's a little bit left. You're almost up to there. It's interesting that he himself didn't know. They were learning Chumash together. I don't know why he didn't know how far it was. If I had gotten there, I wouldn't have needed you. Some of us can say that includes not just this specific thing. Any makkah that's not written Torah is included in that pasuk. Okay. Pasuk says, "Eini oila lenafshi." My eyes cause nivel for myself. Like he's crying so much. From all the daughters of my city. What is this talking about? So the Gemara explains. It's referring to this story. There were 400 shuls in Beitar.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very big established city.
Was it a big Jewish population at that time? Was it?
Yeah, Beitar was very. It was the most populous city in the south, south of Jerusalem. And I think this is by 52 years after the destruction of the Mikdash. That's where the main Jewish city came to, was in Beitar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In each shul there was 400 teachers. That already sounds hard to understand. I mean, how do you have such a gigantic shul? Each shul had 400. Each teacher had 400 students. He must have had a lot of helpers to teach so many students. This is one of those places where the Talmud gives like numbers. Obviously, it wasn't exactly 400, but it symbolizes a certain concept. There was a vast amount of students and a vast amount of teachers. What's 400 times 400 times 400?
1,600. It says 1,600, I think. Right? 1,600?
No. It's way more than that. 1 second.
160,000. 400 times 400.
Let's see.
You need 4
400
zeros.
Times 400
160,000.
400. 64 million.
Oh, 64. Oh, it's just oh.
Okay, obviously the number is not meant to be an accurate number. It's just symbolizing a certain concept.
Yes.
The Maral Summit talks about the number 4, what 4 means, 400. So it says when the enemy came, they would push them away with their sticks. They had sticks to study. I'm not sure. When the goyim overcame them and captured them, they would wrap them in the shvarim and burn them in the fire. They killed them all, or most of them anyway. It was taught. Yeshua ben Chananya went to a big town in Rome. There's a child in prison who's beautiful eyes. He's good looking. His locks are like beautiful. His locks of hair. I don't know why they're describing how beautiful he is physically. It's interesting. Why is that important? We'll see. It was Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol was one of those beautiful people. Holach v'omad al Pesach Beis HaSurim. He went and he stood by the entrance of the prison. Amar mi nosan l'mshisa Yaakov v'sol l'boizizim. Who caused Yaakov to be trampled and the Yidden to be plundered? On Isay Tinik, the child answered, V'amar Aloi Hashem, Zu Chatanu. This is Hashem. Chatanu Loi v'le'yavu b'dracha. We've sinned for him. We don't want to go in his ways. Holoich v'le'shamu, because also we've gone, walked, and we've not listened to his Torah. Omer Muftachani b'Shemei Ha'irah b'Yisrael. I'm sure that he's going to be a great Rav. Ha'avodo, he made an oath. I'm not going to move from here until I redeem for all the money they're going to ask. So Tosfos points out, even though normally you're not supposed to pay more, here was Sakanas Nefashos. You're not supposed to pay much more than the value, more than the third more than the value. But here is different because it was Sakanas Nefashos. And he also said that here was different because he was so talented. It was only a few days until he was a great Rav. And this was obviously before the Churban. It must have been sometime before the Churban because Rabbi Shmuel was a Kohen Gadol. Yeah, some he was a Kohen Gadol, the famous Gemara in Brachas that he benched the Eibishter. He's a big tzaddik. He was one of the Sarurugei Malchus, one of the 10 models. So he didn't have an easy life. He was captured at a young age. We'll see what happened to his son and his daughter. Very tragic story. There's a story with the son and the daughter of Shmuel ben Elisha. They were captured by 2 masters. After a few days, after a while, they were both in the same place. One of them said, I have a slave who's more beautiful than anything in the whole world. Another one said, I have a shivcha who's the most beautiful in the world. They said, let's go marry them off to each other. And we will divide the babies. They brought them in the same room and they said, you're going to have to marry each other to have kids. Not marry, you're going to have kids with each other. The boy sat in one corner, the girl sat in the other corner. I'm a kohen, the son of Kohen Gedolim. I'm going to marry a maidservant. Ani, Kehanis bas Kohen Gedolim. I'm a Kehanis, the daughter of Kohen Gedolim, and Nosi Lavid. I'm going to marry an Eved. They were crying the whole night. When the morning came, they recognized each other, they fell in each other, they cried until their souls left their body. Alain couldn't hear me about them. Yirmiyah eulogizes. And these I cry. My eyes are spilling tears.
Did Yirmiyah wrote Eicha, right?
Yes, Yirmiyah wrote Eicha.
Was it?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yirmiyah Navi. Oh, I don't know. I meant the Navi, Yirmiyah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the Navi Yirmiyah wrote it. Yeah. So the Gemara is talking about Yirmiyah, the Navi Yirmiyah. There's a story of a woman that couldn't buy it. Her name was Sofnas Bas Pniel. Sofnas Shakal Tifn the Yefiyat. Sofnas, everybody would look at her beauty. Bas Pniel, the daughter of Pniel, Bita Shakain Gadol, Shashimish Lifnai, the daughter of the Kohen Gadol who served in the innermost chamber. Shinis Alolva, Shavai Kol Alayla. Her captor, someone she was captured, her captor abused her the whole night, like sexually abused her. The next day, he dressed her in 7 garments, and he wanted to sell her, so he abused her, and then he also wanted to profit off of her. A person who was extremely ugly came. He told him, show me her beauty. He told the captor. So the captor told this ugly person, Reika, empty person, if you want to take. There's nobody as beautiful as her in the whole world. He said, nevertheless, I still want to see her. If Shisha Chalukim, they took off 6 of her 7 garments. B'Shvi, the 7th, she ripped it, Karato, Nispal Shabefer, she was rolling in the dust. Amr Lafonov, she said in front of him, in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribbon Shaloi, the master of the universe. If you didn't have pity on us, on your holy name, your holy strong name, why shouldn't you have pity? So what about yourself? In other words, we're a nation. We're being trampled like this and disrespected. That's like you're disrespecting your own holy name. Yirmiyah, about this woman, Yirmiyah obviously had nevuah, prophecy, Ruach HaKodesh, and he eulogized Bas Ami, the daughter of my nation, Chigri Sok, Bispalshi Be'efer. Wear a sock, wear a sackcloth, and you're rolling in the afer, in the ash, in the dust. Should make a mourning for the individual, a eulogy, a bitter eulogy. Because the robber is coming suddenly upon us. Not on you. So Abishur is also suffering along with us. That's what she was saying, and Abishur obviously agreed.
This would be an appropriate portion to read at Tisha B'Av, right? This portion.
Yeah, the Gemara. Yeah. We did a little bit, but we didn't manage.
Yes, we did a little. Yes,
we didn't manage to get through the whole thing.
11 o'clock. David, hi. I'm coming in late. Sorry. Where are you?
I'm on. We're on Nun Chasam at Aleph. We're 9 lines from the bottom. You don't hear me? David, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna leave and come back. I have an unstable connection.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave and come back, okay?
Well, that's why. Unstable connection. My connection is good. I'm in the main sanctuary. I'm not in the coffee room, but it's pretty good here. Yeah, okay. Yes. Well, tomorrow, Yirtzei Hashem, I go and get my hearing tested and see if I can do something to improve it. My bad hearing. Because now I have headphones. I got to put on headphones.
Yeah, hopefully you can
So-
get it fixed either with hearing aids or treatment. I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes. It could be it could be some medical problems beyond. I don't know.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That sounds better. Where are you now?
Oh, we're 9 lines to the bottom of the page.
Which page?
Daf Nun Ches Amud Aleph.
Thank you. Yes.
So you have it. Omer Rav Yehuda Omer Rav. Okay. Rav Yehuda said it's the name of Rav. And they've caused iniquity, like they've taken a man and his house and his portion. So he's explaining what a story, which is what this pasuk could be referring to. There was a person who wanted to have an affair, or he wanted the wife of his master. He was the apprentice of the carpenter. So Rabbi was a carpenter. It wasn't like a Torah teacher. He was an apprentice, and he obviously was better with money than his master. His master maybe was a spendthrift, or maybe I don't know what it was. He had money, and his master didn't. One time, his master needed to borrow money. So he told him, send your wife to me, and I'll give her the money. It's interesting. It must be maybe that he had learned from him at one point in time, because obviously he wasn't spending his day there. If he was spending his whole day there, why would he say to send your wife to me? He was already independent, I would say, and he was maybe doing better than his master in business, but he wanted his master's wife. So he said, send your wife to me and I'll lend her the money. So obviously you should already have alarm bells when somebody wants you to send your wife to him. Okay, Mefarshim talk about it, but it is strange. Like he shouldn't have done that. Wasn't a good idea. Shigar Ishtayatzloi sent his wife to him to borrow the money. She was with him for 3 days. Instead of sending the wife back, the carpenter's apprentice himself came to him. He said, where's my wife? The wife that I sent you? He lied. He said, I let her go right away. I heard that the young boys were with her on the way. In a bad way. What should I do? He said, if you want to listen to my advice, you should divorce her. Now, if he would have had proof that this was the case, he wouldn't have had to pay the ksuba, but he didn't have proof. He was just trusting the carpenter's apprentice. So if he would divorce, he would have to pay out his ksuba. So he said, her ksuba is a lot. I can't afford it. I'll lend you the money. You can pay her the ksuba, and that way you'll be able to send her on her way. So he divorced her. So what did the carpenter's apprentice do? He married her. So first of all, he had an affair with her. Then he convinced his master to divorce her. Then he went and he married her illicitly, obviously, because you can't marry someone you had an affair with. When the time came and he didn't have the money to pay back the apprentice, he said, come and work for me. You'll be my like my servant, indentured servant, because you owe me the money. Instead of paying the money, you'll serve me instead. I guess it must have been a lot of money. They would sit, eat, and drink, the carpenter's apprentice and the wife who he had stolen. And he would serve them. Tears would pour out of his eyes and fall into their cups. At that moment, the Gzar Din of the Korban was signed. In Shemayim. Obviously, we're talking about a situation that maybe the Bezdin could have prevented, or people knew about it. They didn't do anything about it because obviously an individual sin shouldn't determine the fate of Klal Yisrael. So maybe it was something that had to do with the Rabbin because of this sin. And some people say, in general, not the idea that he stole his wife. and that the guy had to serve them and he was crying, but it was the idea of Eishes Ish. Interesting. Very sad.
What does
Okay.
what does that pasuk mean? Shtei pesilis b'ner echad.
Oh, it's not a pasuk. 2 wicks and 1 candle in 1 lamp. The 2 men were with the same woman, but she only was supposed to be with 1 man. Okay, so we said in the Mishnah, we're up to the next part where it's based on the Mishnah. If you bought property from the Sikrikon is these people who will kill you if you don't give it to them. They're your property. So let's say you bought from a Sikrikon, and then you bought it again from the original owner of the property. So the Mishnah said, Mekli Batal. But if you first bought it from the Balabais and then you bought it from the Sikrikon, that's fine.
And they finally did it, and a week later, somebody pressed a cocktail is bad stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So the Gemara says like this: Rabbi Hoishiv Bezdin v'Nimnu. The end of the Mishnah. I'm reading the end of the Mishnah just so we can understand. We'll understand the future Gemara. Rabbi put a Bezdin together, and they decided that if she was that if it was in front of the Sikrikon for 12 months. So then, anybody who wants to buy it is Zoicha.
But you can still get it. Right, but you can still get it. But you 2 or 3 deals to get in. Yeah, but not a big deal.
But he obviously is going to sell it for less, a quarter less. Because of the oinus gamri makri umakne. Turn off mic because it's making noise. Okay. So now let's learn the Gemara. If you again, the Mishnah said if you bought from the Sikrikon, there's a guy who was a murderer, and it was a time when they were running amok with Jewish blood was running in the streets. So then a Yid he stole property from a Yid. He forced him to give him his property, and then another Yid buys from the Sikrikon. Is it a valid sale or not? So the Mishnah said it's not. If you first bought from the Sikrikon and then you bought from the Balabayas, he's obviously not going to want to give it to you. He's only giving it to you because he's afraid of the Sikrikon. But if you first bought it from the Balabayas and then from the Sikrikon, then it's fine. But he can't buy from the Sikrikon and he can't buy from the Sikrikon and then buy from the Balabayas. He doesn't want to sell to you. The sale is canceled. It seems like you're paying more than the value. You have to pay it twice. I don't know exactly how that works.
I don't get the case. How do you buy it from the Sikrikon and then from the Balabayas? How does that work?
It's a piece of property. So you pay the Sikrikon for it because you want it. And then obviously you go to the original owner because you want to make sure he's okay with it. Then you pay him whatever you're going to pay him. I guess you probably tell them, look, listen, you're not getting your property back anyway. Just let me buy it. So does that work? It doesn't work. The only reason why he's okay with it and he accepts whatever you're going to pay him, maybe you're paying him a quarter of the value because the Sikrikon sold it to you for cheaper, is because he's scared, but he doesn't really want to sell to you. In the end of the Mishnah, we said that if it's under the Sikrikon for 12 months, then you could then you are able to do that, but you have to pay the owner a quarter of the value, which is the amount that it became cheaper on average. That it becomes cheaper on average. So Rav says, it's only if the Yid told him you bought it from the Sikrikon and then you want to buy the rights from the original owner, and he tells him go chazak ukni. So then obviously it doesn't work. Why? Because he's scared. But if he gave you a document, so then already it's fine. Then it's a valid sale. That means he agreed to it. Shmuel Omar, af b'shtar nami loikona. Even with the shtar, you're not koina until he writes that if anything happens and somebody takes the property away, I will return the money. That's a chrayis. If he writes a chrayis, then it's a valid sale, but shtar alone is not sufficient. We're on the next page.
But if he's writing a Faraya,
yeah, I'm listening.
If he's writing Achrayas, isn't it because maybe he's more scared? Like he's even writing, why would he write Achrayas unless he was really scared? I
mean, I don't think the guy would get into the details like that, the nitty gritty, like to make sure that his mom is writing Achrayas. If it was only because he was scared, then he would just write it away. He would write away his rights. But to write Achrayas, That shows that he really wanted to do the sale. I mean, what you're saying does have a certain logic, but I guess that's the way the Gemara looked at it. Tanya Kavasei the Shmuel is a brayso that supports Shmuel. Because the Mishnah compared sikrikun to husband and wife. Not that the husband's like a sikrikun, but Mishnah also said that if you bought a piece of property from the wife's property, the nichsim malug from the husband, and then you reaffirmed from the wife, you paid her whatever you paid her, it's not a sale because she's scared of her. She's just doing it because of her husband. So it says something similar. If you first bought the rights on the wife and then the husband, it's good. From the husband and then the wife, then it's batal, like it says in our Mishnah. Until you write a chrayas. So it's a raya that if you do write a chrayas, it's okay. And if it's okay in that case, it will also be okay in the case of the sikrikun, because the Mishnah, our Mishnah and Daf Nun Hey compared the two to each other. Name it Tevet Tiyuf to Derav. So this is a very strong support for Shmuel. Maybe it's so strong that it's a refutation for Rav. I mean, the truth is, it's not. You can't really say it's a refutation. It's interesting because I don't know why the Gemara uses this lush. I mean, I guess the Gemara could always answer Rav Tanahu Polik, which would be the case if it was a refutation. The Gemara would still say probably Rav can argue with the Mishnah. But the Gemara says it's not even a refutation. In other words, it doesn't contradict Rav. My achrayis not mishtar. Achrayis means shtar. It doesn't literally mean that he's taking responsibility. It just means shtar. Achrayis, Rashi says, could mean you're not able to go reneg. That's what it means. Okay. Gemara goes on. What if you bought from the sikrikon and you didn't do anything with the bailam, right? We didn't get into this case in our Mishnah. Rather, you just had a chazaka. You ate it for 3 years without the bailam saying anything. And then you sold it to someone else. The original owners have no complaint against the lekech sheni because they didn't say anything for 3 years. I mean, look, we're talking about a case where he had the opportunity to protest. Because if he wasn't able to protest, this is my assumption. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that you weren't able to protest. Because that you were able to protest, but you didn't. Sorry, the Gemara is going to explain. Sorry. So the Gemara goes like this. It says like this. Hey, what are we talking about? If he's going to say that I bought it from you, in other words, Rashi explains, we're talking about after the Takana of Rebbe, that after 12 months, you could buy it from the original owner for a quarter. What does that have to do with chazaka? It has nothing to do with chazaka. It has to do with 12 months. First guy can say it too. If you can't toyin and say that you bought it from him, the new guy also can't say that. He's not saying this. We are toyin for the lekech sheni. Now, yeah. So we assume. Now, what about if the guy's around? What if the original owner's around? The original guy, if he says that he paid the extra money, then fine. Otherwise, not. So chazaka is not going to help. The chazaka alone doesn't help. It has to be a taina. My question is, why it has to be 3 years? Based on this interpretation, 12 months is enough. Why 3 years? I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. I think maybe we'll stop here. We'll do the Yushalmi for a little bit. Okay.
Robert, any chance you can continue today on the Bavli, because I don't have the Yerushalmi?
Oh yeah, of course.
You know what happened is that our luggage didn't arrive yet. It's going to arrive at 2:30.
Oh, does that mean you get a payout?
No, after 3 days we get a payout.
Oh, but usually you buy like insurance or something, or no?
No, it's just going there. Ma, on the way back, she said she had a good feeling. She said she thinks it's going to arrive in time. Not one of the pieces of luggage arrived. Zero.
Oh, so if you would have had insurance, you could have gotten like $500 per suitcase or something.
No. It's only when you're going there do you get insurance. When you're coming home, you don't get any insurance.
Oh, I see. That's ridiculous. You need it. Let's say you're short, whatever. Anyway.
What if you're short your shorts?
Exactly. They once gave my thing like late, and then you had to fill out forms and fax and things, and they made it so complicated it was almost impossible to get a payout unless you're very organized. Okay, Toner Rabbanan, it was taught in the Brisa. Habo machmas choiv u'machmas anparus. Someone who is taking away property because he's owed money. There's a choiv. He's owed money. So it's not sikrikoin, obviously. We're not talking about sikrikoin. Sikrikoin, mamish, the takana of Rebbe was after 12 months, the property is yours. If you buy it from him, you just need to pay a quarter to the original owners. But if it's just a debt, it's different. So somebody who above machmas chayv machmas amparos. Amparos is he just steals it from you, but it's not murder. You can't just murder. He stole from you with strength. It doesn't have the din of sikrikon of the nimnu begomer of Rebbe. Van paros atzmo tzricha shetisha shnei masar chodesh. Van paros needs to wait for 12 months. So right away the Gemara asks, what do you mean you have to wait 12 months? We just said there's no sikrikon. So what's the 12 months going to help? Says Rav Yosef, sorry. The sikrika needs to wait 12 months, but this property, the guy never gave up hope on it. And even if somebody bought it from the guy, and he paid the bailam a quarter, it's not going to help. He just is not speaking up because he's scared, but he's not really totally giving up ownership. Only by sikrika, where it's death, do we say he's gomar u'makna, that he's totally giving up ownership. Is it the right thing to do to buy a property from a sikrika and then pay the owners a quarter? Maybe not. I actually think that there's a din that, I guess so, because they don't have the money to redeem it themselves. The answer is they don't have the money for themselves. If they would have the money, they have the first rights. If they don't have the money, then we let them take it. But in this case, where it's a debt, they'll never give up hope. We say they never give up.
I'm sorry, David. I forgot I lost the spot.
We're on Daf Nun Ches Amud Beis 58b. Omer Rav Yosef.
I thought we were doing the Yerushalmi.
Oh, in the end we're doing Bavli. I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay, so better get near the end of that.
We're in the middle. Omer Rav Yosef. I'll tell you exactly how many lines. 1, 2, 3. I think 19 lines on the top. Omer Rav Yosef. There's no such thing as en paris in Bavel. That's what Rav Yosef said. So, if a yid will come and tell somebody else, oh, a guy stole the property from me, he sold it to you, we don't believe him. There's no such thing as goyim stealing property in Bavel. I guess he was saying the rule of law is so strong in Bavel.
Are you counting the lines?
What? We're in the skinny lines. I'll go from the bottom. In Emparis Bavel. 10 lines on the bottom of the skinny lines. So the question is,
can't hear you.
What? You don't hear me?
Oh,
I hear you great, David.
We see that there is Emparis in Bavel. So people do steal property. So why is it not a time? I would say it's similar to America today. Nobody's stealing your property. There's a rule of law. Question is, we see people did steal property in Bavel. There's no din of Anparis Bavel. There's a court. He didn't complain. It's his problem. Means he was Michael. there was different times in Bavel, obviously. In the time of Rav Yosef, I guess it was a better situation where there was a way to get justice. Says the Gemara like this: Gidol bar re'iloi kovil aro betasko mi bnei bag. So like this, Rashi explains, there was a people of the valley, and the king would take a tax. Instead of individualizing the tax, he would just say the whole valley has to pay a tax. He didn't want to bother with specific income tax. That was too complicated. He would just say the whole valley has to pay a shekach v'kach. So they would obviously divide it among themselves. Now, one time, one of the owners of a piece of property, he was gone. So he wasn't there to pay the tax. So Gidol bar Eloi accepted that he's going to pay this guy's tax for him. And the people of the valley gave him the guy's property. Instead, he got the property as payment because he paid the tax. So he was going to grow the property. He was going to pay the tax. And as his payment for doing that, he was going to eat the property. I don't know how that's not a problem of like ribbis that he's getting. It seems like he's getting a good deal. Yeah. I guess because he's paying the tax, he's, so to speak, taking ownership over the property, because otherwise they would lose the property. So it's not like a question of ribbis. It's like he's acquiring the property, maybe. So what he did was, he liked this deal. This was a good deal for him. He paid 3 years in advance. Then the original owner came after 1 year, not 3 years. They told Gidol, first year that you pay the tax, eat. From now on, we'll give the tax and we'll eat. We want our property back. Also, look, I made it a papa. They went in front of Rav Papa because there's a big this is a monetary question that he had paid in advance for 3. Now the truth is no one asked him to pay in advance, but he had paid in advance for 3 years worth. So Rav Papa wanted to write a star.
You just went mute.
Sorry, I got cut off. That he should be able to pay back as a debt what he had paid out. What he had paid out, he should get paid back from the property, from the properties. So that makes sense. Omer le Ravuna b'nei Rav Yeshua Rav Papa imken asisa sikrika. Ravuna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, told Rav Papa, "You've made a sikrika. If you do this, if you're going to give a tearful, it's like the din of a sikrika. That, what do we say? The original Bailim don't lose anything. Basically, by a Sikrikan, we say that any money that you paid out, if they want to get their property back, they could pay it to you, and you're not going to lose anything. But that's only by Sikrikan. We have a special din like this. You get to acquire it, you pay out a quarter, and so on and so forth. But here, by the Mas HaMelech, shouldn't be a debt for him. Nobody had told him to pay in advance. By Sikrikan, you don't lose anything. But by the Mas HaMelech, we said there's no such thing as Sikrikan nowadays. The guy lost out. He lost his money. He paid the tax in advance and he lost his money. They don't have to pay him back. Nobody asked him to pay for 3 years in advance.
Doesn't sound fair.
Doesn't sound fair.
For the next 2 years, they don't have to pay taxes, and this guy who paid taxes is out of luck.
Right. It doesn't sound fair. I agree. It's hard to understand. Okay, we'll go a little weiter. Zoe Mishnah Rishoina, Bezin Shalchir Bar Melekech Masikun Neis on the Bailam Revia. First Mishnah was there's no such thing as a sale from a secret coin. Secret coin, you can't buy something from a secret coin. It's your problem if you buy something from a secret coin. It'll still go back to the original owner. However, Bezin Shalachreim said, Alekech Man Secret Coin Neis on the Bailam Revia. The lady Bezin said, you give the Bailim a quarter. You pay out to the original owners a quarter and it's yours. What's the quarter that you're giving him? Property or money? Are you giving him a quarter of the money that you gave to the guy? You add a quarter, or you give him a property which is the value of the quarter. Which is a fifth. Quarter is really a fifth. So the Gemara says like this. Rav, Omer Rav. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't translate it right. Omer Rav, Revia Bekarka, Revia B'mos. You're paying a quarter of the property or the money, depending on what the owner wants. Shmuel Omer, Revia Bekarka Shem Shlish B'mos. Shmuel says it's a third, which is it's a quarter, which is a third. In other words, is it 20% or is it 25%? According to Rav, it's 20%. According to Shmuel, it's the quarters from the actual four parts. According to Rav, the quarter is an additional quarter, so it turns into 20%. According to Shmuel, the quarter is one of the four quarters, so it's a third of what he had paid. A third of what he had paid, basically. How much of what he had paid does he have to pay? Again, according to Rav, 20%, because it's one of the four parts, he has to pay in addition. According to Shmuel, it's one of the three parts in addition, which turns into a quarter.
You mean they're adding a quarter, say 25 to 100, you get 125.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you take a, see.
According to Rav, it was a fifth glass. Sold for a fifth glass. Meisvei, says that you pay, the Mishnah Achron is you pay Revia, and the Bailim get to choose what they want. They could take either property or money. It's only if they don't have the money. If they have the money, they're for everybody. If you waited 12 months, then whoever wants to buy could buy it. You have up to 12 months to do whatever you want to do. But you can't, that's after 12 months, you can do whatever you want. So Kolakim Zach is only before 12 months. After 12 months, you can do whatever you want. You give a quarter of the property or the money. So this is a raya for Rav against Shmuel. This is talking about after the money's in his hand, it turns into a quarter, because you give a third, turns into a quarter. So Shmuel could say it's talking about after the money came to his hand. Okay, Talmudic math, it's very complicated. Omer Rav, we're on Nun Testament Alf now. I was there when Rebbe was Masakin. I guess even in the times of Rebbe, maybe they had Sikrikun. When he was Masakin that anybody wants to buy after 12 months could buy. We know Didim Manu Beresha. And I was the first one. They asked me first. Rashi says two interpretations. Either Rav was one of the middle level Rabbanim, because he was young in those times, or he was the smallest of all of them, because it was like he was like a student, so to speak. He was like a student who was also a Rav, so he was the smallest or Beinani. The Kasha, we said start from the greatest person if we're talking about monetary questions, or Ta'ara is purity and impurity. When it comes to life and death, you start from the smallest, because we want to make sure that they're going to say what they think. Because if you'd start with the greatest, they would be scared to argue. So how come over here we started with Rav? We're talking about Mominus. Should start with Rebbe. And Devei Rebbe, they would always start Minat Tzad. They interpreted Loisan al Riv, Loisan al Rav. You're not supposed to argue with the Rav with the greatest. So they would even in Dinim, they interpreted that to mean even Dinim Mominus. Even Dinim Mominus, they would start Minat Tzad. So that's why they started with Rav. So either Minat Tzad could mean the Beinoni or it could mean the smallest. From Moshe Rabbeinu until Rebbe, we didn't have Torah and Gedula in one place with Gadlus and Oisher and wealth. What about Yeshua? He was also a wealthy person. He was a great person. Hava Elazar. Answer is Elazar was with him. Elazar was with him at the same time as Yeshua. So it wasn't like Mamish standing out. What about after Yeshua passed away and Elazar was there? Have a Pinchas. Pinchas was there. Have a Pinchas. What about when Pinchas was alone? Have a Skenim. Have a Shaul. Have a Shmuel. When Shaul was alive, it was also Shmuel. Shaul was a Gadol B'Torah. Rashi says Shaul was a Gadol B'Torah, but he didn't teach others. The Shmuel died before Shaul. The answer is Kulu Shni. All the years of when he was great, there was nobody like him. By him, it was shared Shaul and Shmuel some years. Kulu Shnei Binan. What about Shlomo Melech? It's interesting we don't mention David. Have a Shimi ben Geda, I think because David had some people who were greater than him in learning. I'm not sure. Have a Shimi ben Geda. Shimi ben Geda was comparable to him in learning. He killed Shimi ben Geda. It's a little bit funny because he was cursing David HaMelech when he was running away from Avshalom. So David HaMelech told him to kill him. Kulishne Kamrinan. Seems like he didn't kill him right away. I don't know. I thought he killed him right in the beginning of his reign. I'm not sure. What about Ezra? I'll also say from the days of Rebbe until Rav Ashi, there was nobody who had Torah and Gedula b'Makom Echad. What about Huna bar Nosson? Shani bar Nosson to make up a kaifle the Rav Ashi. He was bottled to Rav Ashi. Okay, we'll stop here. Oh, I skipped. I mamish skipped a lot of lines. I don't know how I skipped so much. Have a Pinchas, have a Skenim, have a Shaul, have a Shmuel, have a David. So we did mention that. I'm sorry. Have a David. There was David. Have a Ira HaYe'iri. There was Ira HaYe'iri. He was a Gadol B'Torah. It says in my Gittin, Rashi says that he would teach the Chacham on top of pillows. He passed away. Kulishne Binan, have a Shleima, have a Shimon ben Geda, have a Katle, Kulishne Kamrin, have a Chizkiah. I don't know how I skipped. In two places I skipped. What about Chizkiah? He was a Gadol B'Torah and he was a king. Have a Shevna. The Shevna was also a Gadol B'Torah. He was even greater than Chizkiah in Torah. Ha'iktil. He was killed by Sanchedev. Shevna was killed by Sanchedev. Kulu Shnei Kamrin. Have Ezra, have Nechem Mechal, Yom Ravach B'Rav, Haniyam, Meis Rebbe, Yeshua, Rav Rashi, Lo Mitzin Torah Gedula B'Makom Echad, Fraknik Modav Aloy, have a Huna bar Nosson, whatever Huna bar Nosson, Shani bar Nosson, to make a kaifle the Rashi. He was bottled to Rav Ashi. Okay. I think we'll stop here by the Mishnah and Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph.
Excellent. See you tomorrow, David.